Defeating ISIS isn't just Iraq's problem, of course. It's everybody's battle. That's what one of the highest profile names in the Middle East has told me. Queen Rania of Jordan says extremists of all beliefs rely on moderates not taking action against them. And she says that is something that needs to change.
This is really a battle between extremism and moderation. And nobody can afford to be sitting on the fence, because this is a fight for what the world is going to look like for the next generation. And we all have to take a position with regards to that. And it's important to understand that you cannot defeat an extremist ideology just on the battleground. This group has made it very clear what they stand for. And they've made it very clear how far they're willing to go and the means that they're willing to use in order to fulfill their objectives. So the battleground is one area, but you cannot shoot an extreme ideology with a bullet. They are powered by an idea. And sometimes an idea will outlive the group itself. And we've seen that, for example, when military action was taken to defeat people like bin Laden or Zarqawi, you had another generation of terrorists, each one born more brutal, more extreme, and more radical than the one before. So we need to make sure that we fight the different elements of it. There's, first of all, you have to take away the cause. We've seen in our region, for example, the divide between the Shia and the Sunni has been left to fester for too long. And as a result, a lot of the Sunni groups have felt that they have been excluded and marginalized. And then you get the mentality of the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and that's why some of them at the very beginning were supporting this group, and then they realized what they stand for. So it's important for the Sunnis, for example, in the region, to be able to see an exit out of this political predicament, to see new horizons for themselves, to feel that they are included and that they have a say and that there's equity in the sharing of power and resources. Then you have to look at the enabling environment that allows this kind of ideology to grow and fester. So we have to fight this battle on all fronts. And at the heart of it, there needs to be justice, equality, democratic values. Our young people have to feel that they have a future to look forward to, that they have better economic prospects. And I think that's the best way to fight these kind of extreme groups.
You've talked about justice, equality. Our young people need hope. For young Jordanians and young Syrian refugees who don't have any hope at the moment, how concerned are you about the fomenting of extremist violence?
I think we all have to be concerned about extremist violence. I think this is something that touches everybody in the world. No one can actually think that this is not their problem, because it is. And when I say this is a fight between extremism and moderation, I mean it's extremists on all sides and all religions, and moderates on all sides and all religions. So I think this is something we all have to think about. We have to see that it is our battle. Extremists historically always rely on the complacency of moderates. They think that we're not going to do anything, and they mobilize and we don't. They form networks and we don't. We have to be out there. We have to be active. Each one of us has a role to play in really fighting for it, because this is our life that we're fighting for, and the life of our children.
As that fight continues at home as a host country of so many refugees at present, do you feel let down by the international community, and what needs to happen next?
My husband was saying recently that people look at Jordan as a trusted and reliable neighbor. They know that they can always count on us to do the right thing, but he was saying that sometimes Jordan is taken for granted. We need to feel that the international community is going to step in and help.
Is it a humanitarian disaster at present?
I think it is. If this isn't a humanitarian disaster, I don't know what else would qualify as one. When you look at the sheer numbers, when you look at the lives that have been devastated, when you look at, and as I said, I just worry about the future generation. When you look at the kind of violence and suffering that children in the Middle East have been exposed to over the last generations, but specifically over the last 3 or 4 years, whether it's the children of Gaza or children in Iraq that have witnessed so much violence, or in Syria, what kind of emotional scars are these children growing up with? And what kind of generation are we looking at? Is this generation going to be even more vulnerable? Does this exasperate their vulnerability in the future and makes them more ready to accept and be influenced by extreme ideology?
So if you had one message to the international community, one message, one thing that was keeping you awake at night that you could change tomorrow with support, what would it be?
You know, one of the worst injustices that have been committed, and I think, you know, we all know all the the human rights violations that ISIL have committed. But one of the worst crimes is the crime that they have committed against Islam, in associating Islam with extremism. And that is an unjust association, probably the worst crime, because Islam is a religion of tolerance and peace, and they're all about vengeance and brutality. And this dissociation has to be made. The majority of Arabs want what everybody else wants. They want peace, stability, healthcare, good schooling for their kids, good jobs. Our young people, they aspire to live in progressive, tolerant, techno-powered societies where piety and modernity can go hand in hand, where they can coexist. So if I have a message to the international community is to see us for what we are, not for what those minority groups want us to appear as, and to understand that we have to form these linkages, we have to form these networks among us all moderates in order to defeat what these extremists want to take away from us, because they want to take us back centuries and we can't afford to do that.